Let's start with a joke, shall we? Knock, knock. A big, bold man with glasses and his 3 friends with DIY weapons here to kill you. Probably too serious, really. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to another Lost the Plot video. And yes, yet again, we have another single film review from one of the new releases this year. We were a bit slow to start off, but now they hopefully will be coming thick and fast and as frequent as we can possibly cope with. This review will be on the M. Night Shyamalan film Knock at the Cabin. But before we get on to the review, let's do a little synopsis. A big, bold man with glasses befriends a child collecting grasshoppers and then proceeds to threaten their family with a decision that ultimately will end up with almost everybody dying. Yeah. And straight away I went into this film blind, so I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. M. Night Shyamalan's not released many films at recent times that have really reached the heights that you would expect them to. So I was hoping that this film might push him back into the limelight and give him that recognition probably that he deserves. This film from me gets a 4 out of 10. And straight away, you can probably tell that I am very disappointed just from that score. Don't get me wrong, we appreciate M. Night Shyamalan releasing these new and original screenplays and stories, but ultimately I thought that this fell very, very flat and the delivery of it was quite poor in itself. Don't get me wrong, the storyline was intriguing and I felt that it had a lot of potential. This apocalyptic view that is based on the choice of one family could have been absolutely superb. But I feel like the way it was written and possibly the way it was directed didn't allow it to flourish as much as you would expect. If I'm being honest, not a lot happened. It felt like this story dragged on and on and on. They tried to stretch out this particular part. If I'm being honest, it felt like it started halfway through the film. And I know I've just said that it dragged on and they fleshed it out, which they did, but ultimately I felt like there needed to be 30 minutes at the start of the film to allow us to get to this moment. I felt like there was a lot of unanswered questions on why they were there, why they were doing this. They weren't actually that believable. And ultimately, the flashbacks. As you know, if you watch this channel a lot, Tom hates flashbacks, and I'm starting to understand why. There were 3 or 4 flashbacks in this film that were absolutely pointless and did not drive the plot forward at all. They didn't make us care for these characters anymore. They just gave us insight to their story, which wasn't necessary to this actual point. Hence why I'm saying another 30 minutes was probably needed at the start of the film to allow us to experience it and engage with what they were doing. I'm going to be honest. There was no investment in any of the characters, I felt like. Dave Bautista's Leonard and Wynn were probably the 2 main characters that you felt any connection and that you enjoyed watching on screen. The rest, I just felt like they were quite hollow. And if I'm being honest, when they did all die, I didn't feel anything. I didn't think, oh my God, wow. Because ultimately, the way in which the film was structured and pieced together was quite shoddy, in my opinion. And in doing so, drew out all of the suspense and tension that you might feel as a watcher and a consumer. I just felt that it was really bad. You didn't care and you were just left with questions. And I know that the idea of it was supposed to be apocalyptic thriller, but ultimately it just felt quite bland. They kept away from showing us the gory scenes that potentially would have turned it into more of a thriller, and decided to have a lot of it just talking. And don't get me wrong, dialogue done well is brilliant, but in this case, probably dragged on far too much. M. Night Shyamalan's not released a film that's captivated many people in recent releases. He needs to shake something up, and it's going to be hard to see where his next funding comes from, because he's fell short a few times now and it's starting to get a little bit ridiculous. Maybe spend some time trying to actually figure out the direction in where you want to go, because ultimately this fell very flat. If you haven't seen it, don't see it at all. You are not missing out. It's pretty poor. Dave Bautista was alright though, and to be fair, he is my favourite actor that's come from a wrestling background. I enjoy him a lot. But other than that, this film is tin pot. So, that's all from me. I hope that was insightful and quick, because that's what we're here for. And I shall see you in the next one. Bye.